Cheers, everybody. I don't know if it's Saturday night. I guess it's Saturday night again. Saturday night, coffee and berries. So don't mind my blue lips. The blueberries does that. So I'm doing a night vlog to answer a question that was put to me. How important is good photography in websites? And should I buy a Nikon to start shooting photos for websites? So, two answers. A, great imagery and photography is very important for websites. I try to use them myself, although it's a part of it. But before I would go out to buy a camera hoping to make my money selling photos for websites, I think that's unlikely, not because they're not important. It's an unlikely thing you're going to make a lot of money on that at the beginning because there's so many stock photography sites out there that people can buy their images from millions probably now for 25 bucks with unlimited license use for websites. So photography is great, but I think if you wanted to get into photography, I wouldn't count on trying to sell photos to people who want to build websites. I think they might buy a photo from you, but remember, you're going to be competing against all those stock photography sites, which you can upload to as well. But it's a difficult thing. A friend of mine has been doing the stock photography thing for years now. He's not a professional photographer, but he's got a pretty good DSLR. And he takes photos, and he's been building up his stock photography collection on these sites for years now. It doesn't make much, it makes 50 bucks, 100 bucks a month, maybe after years. So that's not the route. If you want to make money as a photographer, I would imagine you would have to get into, a good friend of mine was doing photography professionally for a little bit. You would have to get into the wedding businesses to do photography for weddings, special events, business events, and whatnot. Another thing to consider, and again, I'm not a professional photographer, so this is a basic principle I'm leaning on here, basic business principle. If you want to get ahead in any business, you got to specialize. You got to find a niche, and you got to do stuff that other people are not doing. So, that said, I would strongly recommend that you get into maybe, or look into rather, specialized photography, maybe drone photography, flyovers, video, photos for weddings, special events. Maybe that might be an angle that will allow you to get into that game. But here's the thing, there's probably a lot of logistical issues with regard to doing professional photography. You have to learn how to use the cameras and all the equipment, and that takes time. You got to learn that, and I would recommend you do a course, whether it be an online course or private tutoring. Even better, do an online course and go offer to work for a wedding photographer for free. You might even have a hard time getting that gig because they're going to want people to know what they're doing. But that's a good, quick way. If you did several months of working for a professional in the field, that could speed up your learning big time. So going back, way back when I was a young guy, I wanted to get into the import-export business. So what did I do? I went and worked as a drone meaning at the very bottom of the barrel for an import-export business that I knew of. I said, whatever, I'll wash floors, I'll do whatever. It was the best move I could have made because I worked there just for a summer. But first of all, I developed a good relationship with the owners, which came in useful later on in the career. And number two, I learned a lot about how the business worked in the back end, in the operations, how they were doing things, because I was there for a few months. So you may want to do that if you want to get into photography. So to conclude, yes, good photos is important for web development, that's for sure. It's good to have nice images. The problem is there's so much competition because of all these photo sharing sites that it's very difficult. So if you wanted to get into photography, that's cool, but understand that there's a lot of competition. Understand that you should be looking at niche areas of professional video and photography providing those services. You could be specialized in baby photos if you're good with babies. Could be drone and other wacky types of video that you specialize in to provide these services. Who knows? I'm not in that space, so you have to really learn the business. That's a very important thing about getting into any type of business is you have to really understand, where the demand is, understand the business. So if you're on a tight budget, you may want to get yourself a nice, decent entry level DSLR. Don't go for a $5,000 camera or anything like that. If you're, I don't know Nikon, so if I were you, if you were into, let's say, Canon, you might want to get something middle of the road, like an 80D, 80D. That's what I just got, or a 70D, and work with that camera because you can take amazing photos and do very good videos with those cameras without putting out the big money that, let's say, a 5D Mark, I think it's Mark 4 now, will cost you like 4 or 5 grand. So especially if you're a beginner, because you may not like it in the end. But the good thing about investing in camera equipment with the big boys, Nikon or Canon, there's always going to be a market, an aftermarket for that. So let's say you buy a decent Nikon or a decent Canon with a couple of good lenses. You start with one lens, a flexible lens, and then you move on from there. If you decide, the photography's not for me, you know there's going to be a market for that camera, and you know there's going to be a market for that lens. So you won't get all your money back, that's for sure, but at least you get some of it back. So there you go. Those are the considerations. I hope you don't mind this night vlog. Like I said, this is my Surface Pro web camera, and it's just so easy to do vlogs this way. And that's it. Cheers, guys.